Umar Johnson supporters should be thanking the so-called haters because any real updates that Umar has provided about the progress on the school has been because of the videos that the so-called haters have made. It's interesting that these taxes were due on 9/30/2019, but Umar did not address them until 12/4/2019. I told you the county has been contacting Umar about these past due taxes. I also showed you the email that the Newcastle County Collection Department sent out in their efforts to find Umar in regards to the unpaid taxes. However, he did not address the taxes until I made this video that outlined the unpaid taxes and utilities. Other people started making videos on this matter, which prompted the host on one of the interviews to ask Umar about the unpaid taxes.
Well, I want to say I was very disturbed, Brother Umar, that some brother would take the time and go through, seem like 30 years of research to talk about the tax situation with your school.
So let's talk about the video Umar recently made, in which he addressed the taxes and the utilities.
10 and 11 a month, so I just went ahead and paid 2 months for the county tax. So I need y'all to keep them donations flowing. If you was giving 10, give 20. If you was giving 50, give 100. If you was giving 100, try to give 200, because these bills are not small by any stretch of the imagination. So we owe the county about $1.50 total. We done already gave them about 40. So we probably almost down to 100. We spaced it out over the year. Next tax bill come out in July, so we trying to have it paid off by July and have our exemption status by that point, so we don't have to pay it again.
So yes, he did make a payment, but once again, the county had to reach out to him. Remember, I told you in this video that a payment plan was set up after the county finally got a hold of Umar. If we look at the first parcel number on the Newcastle County website, we see the first payment from Umar was noted on 12/4/2019. And if we look at the second parcel number, we see the same thing. This is when the payment agreement was set up, so the next payment should have been in January. Based on the information I got from the county, the payment plan is due on the 15th of the month. If we look, we see that there was no payment made in January. I spoke with the county on February 5th, and they explained to me that the January payment was not made and they have been contacting Umar. After seeing the video that was uploaded on February 6th, in regards to the payment being made, I followed up with the county and they confirmed that a payment was made in the amount of $20,000. Umar also said in that video that he paid for 2 months. While I guess Umar does not understand how payment works, the payment that he made was applied to the January payment and the balance was applied to the principal, so he still needs to make a February payment. So let's look at the utilities because there is an interesting development. You remember when Umar said this about the utilities?
The reason the utilities had not been paid is because we have to get clarity on the meters to make sure we're not being overcharged. Because there's 2 schools, right? 4 buildings, but there's 5 different bills. So whenever I get the utilities, I don't get 1 bill. I get a bill for 5 different meters, but there's only 4 buildings. So later this week, I have to go out there and meet the city of Wilmington's engineers so they can trace the meters to the appropriate buildings to make sure I'm not being overcharged. There's also the fire water line in case of a fire emergency. I'm being charged for those lines, which have to be repaired. So I was told by a customer service rep from the city of Wilmington that you might not be responsible for paying the fire water charge because your fire lines have been vandalized and need to be repaired.
Well, that was in November of 2019. He said that he needs clarity on the meters and he also needs to meet with the engineers. He also said the fire water line is damaged and he was told by a customer service rep that he might not have to pay this bill since the lines are damaged. Then later on in that same month, he said this.
We have not made a payment on the city tax because in order to enter into an agreement with the city tax, they include all outstanding bills. And we didn't want that to happen because we can pay the utilities bill out front. But I was encouraged not to pay the utilities bill up front because we had 5 meters on our bill, but we only have 4 buildings. So the city of Wilmington needed to come out, which they did the day before yesterday. And we walked through with the city to match up the building with the meter. And guess what we found out? That one of the meters were incorrectly labeled. Not only that, we also found that one of the lines needs to be repaired. So I can't be charged for that right now until it is repaired. So in other words, we actually saved some money by being patient because now they have to take those charges off the bill. And then once they take the charges off the bill, we're going to pay the utilities out flat. And then we can do the payment plan for the real estate taxes.
Okay, so he said that the city came out and they found that one of the meters was labeled incorrectly. Also, one of the lines was damaged. I spoke with the city in January and asked about this and was told that they don't have any records of this on file. However, they did say that a final notice was sent out in December, but it might have fallen through the cracks because the water service has not been disconnected. But here he is in February still talking about making arrangements to pay the water bill.
Waiting on the city to get the water meter situation corrected. There was a meter that was incorrectly labeled water meter, so the city is working on that. Shout out to the city of Wilmington for helping me with that. And as soon as they get the water meter situation taken care of, I'm going to pay off the outstanding utility.
Well, here is the interesting development on the utility bills. I checked the bills on February 6th and noticed that some of the bills no longer had a balance. So I said, okay, well, it looks like he took care of it. However, when you look at the total paid, it shows $0. But when you look at the payment adjustment, it shows write-off. So I followed up with the county and this is what I was told. You remember I told you in this video that this property is on the vacant property list. They explained that since the property is on the vacant property list, the only thing the owner has to pay is the monthly stormwater charges, because the property cannot have water service until it's taken off the vacant property list. Since the account had a large balance and a final notice was sent out, the account was reviewed and they found that this property was on the vacant property list, and this is why they wrote off those charges. So if we look at the account, we see that the stormwater charges are still there. So this is a plus for Umar. Now he does not have to make an excuse about the meters being a problem or the fire lines being damaged as the reason for not paying these bills. The bill has been reduced, so let's see what happens. I also asked about permits. They explained that since this property has been on the vacant property list for a while, the city would have to come out and inspect the property before any permits can be issued. I asked if that was done and they said no. They also explained that the last time a permit was issued for this property was 2014. Here is a copy of that permit. He also keeps saying that he needs to pay the utilities before he can address the city property taxes. That is not true. He can pay the taxes independent of the utilities. The question you should be asking yourself as a supporter or someone that donated to this project is, why is he not just paying these bills? Because based on how much money he said he collected and the amount that he paid for the property, he should have enough left to pay these bills. because by him not dealing with these bills, he has now cost the donors more than $18,000 in penalties and interest. But if you ask Umar how this project is doing, this is what he will tell you.
Everything is in motion. Everything is in motion.